back from closed session, so you can read and I have a report from closed session. So you can see we have an economy hour today. So please join me in place. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks all for coming to the audience, and today is National Junior Red House Day. Just so you know, I try to not holiday at your meeting, so that's today's holiday. So I know most of you are here for the listening session, and we have another. So I'm going to go over the listening session procedures when we get to them on the agenda. If you wish to speak under item 9, which is public comment on items not related to enrollment, you need to fill out a blue card with your name and what you speak under that agenda item. If you're here to speak on enrollment, then you don't need to fill out a card. You just go to this one and speak on enrollment and get to that item. So our first agenda item is board agenda approval. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, carries. Do we have any communication tonight from
We go right to August.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot our So I'm going to introduce Allison Lanier, our Associate Superintendent for Urban Services, and she's going to introduce our honored guest. And yes.
Okay, I'm so pleased to welcome and honor Jonathan and Sue this evening and his students. Mr. Sue is our Director of Orchestras and Associate Vocal Director here at Kennedy Middle School, and he is going to be honored in January as the CMEA Bass Section Outstanding Orchestra Music Educator. And so tonight, I welcome Principal Steve Ham to say a few words about our program here at Kennedy Middle School and Mr. Sue, and then we're going to be treated to a short performance by our musicians. So we look forward to that. Thank you. So I have the words that Mr. Ham is going to say, so I'll just read those along with my standard. Mr. Sue was hired 5 years ago to head up our orchestra department at Kennedy Middle School. Jonathan rapidly transformed our orchestra program into an internationally recognized one. Under Mr. Sue's direction, all levels of the orchestra began attending out-of-school festivals. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that our orchestras consistently receive the highest rankings at various festivals and contests. Perhaps our biggest accomplishment at Kennedy involved these music education conferences. In the 2017-18 school year, the Advanced Orchestra, under the direction of Mr. Jonathan Sue, was selected via blind audition recording to perform at the California All-State Music Educators Conference as a featured performing honor ensemble. In the following year, the same ensemble performed at the 72nd Annual Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic in December 2018, the first middle school ensemble to ever be selected from California to perform at this prestigious conference. Despite having achieved accomplishments that many seasoned music educators would only ever dream of, Mr. Sue continues to seek opportunities to grow and refine his craft. And it is our pleasure this evening to honor Mr. Sue and his wonderful musicians from Kennedy. Thank you.
We have two soloists tonight, Amy Zhang and Lindsay Tang. They'll be playing Entrance of the Queen of Sheba. Thank you.
Thank
carries 5-0. Okay, now we're moving into our listening session. So I'm going to read, I know that's rude, but I want you to have the same information if you have the listening sessions have had. This is our third one. We've been to Miller and to Lawson, and we have to, coming up for the next few weeks. So during this listening session, the board won't be discussing or responding. We'll discuss in January after we've heard from our community at all of our meetings. We won't answer questions tonight. If the board has questions based on the comments, they'll have an opportunity to ask clarifying questions at the end of the listening session. We'll first hear some information about enrollment and budget from our superintendent, and then we'll allot 1 hour for our listening session. Before I go to Craig's presentation, raise your hand if you're planning to speak tonight. I'll eyes so I can see how many we have. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so we're going to move right into Craig.
Okay. Am I on?
You're on.
Do I need to sit on?
Oh, you're right, I don't know. I remember I heard this slide in the movies.
That's what's happening.
All loud. Go to turn this
No,
on.
okay, going on. All right. So, this is what, about my 12th time giving this presentation? I'll try to give it the same amount of energy as I always do. I'm doing my best right now. It's kind of a funny setup because I'm supposed to talk to the board. I don't want to have my back to you all, so I'll try to go back and forth a little bit. All right. So, if we go to the first one about the purpose. Oh, this is the wrong set. It has to be the other one. Yeah, that's it. So, the purpose of today, we are here again to give the board a chance to see data that is focused on the Kennedy Middle School and Superior Elementary Schools, primarily. And to give you a chance to listen to the community and hear their thoughts so that we can deliberate on it on January 23rd for the board advance, at which point community can come as well. We are currently looking for a location for it. We need it 2 days ago, but we do believe that we'll have a fair number of people showing up. And so we're looking for a location that will hold that many people. So stay tuned for that. And I do want to reiterate, as I always do, that this board has not discussed this item at all, this topic at all. It was since last we met, and so we had been waiting, and we said we would wait until we just listened over all this time, and we purposely set up every middle school over this period of time to make sure we get out to every community to do this, and that is our commitment to the community. But just know, nothing being presented today has been put before the board for discussion. We have not talked about it at all, and I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. Okay, next one, please. Thank you. So I do want to make sure that everyone understands that there is a strong connection between our budget and enrollment, and that unlike other districts around us, we are not a basic district, which means that we do rely on the number of students is how our funding comes to us. And so with that in mind, if you look here, just between 2015-16 and this year, 2019-20 school year, we basically dropped by a couple thousand, a little over 2,000 students, and the projection up until 2024-25 has us going down to 14,262, which is a negative 4,648. I will say that once you get after about a 3-year projection, our projections aren't as accurate, but basically after 24-25 it's going to be pretty accurate. And the degree to which we've been wrong over the last several years is actually been worse than expected, not better. And so we feel fairly certain that we will be getting down to this little over 14,000 students by the year 24-25. Now for us, 4,648 students, certainly by 24-25, we receive about $9,100 per student. If you're losing 4,648, you're losing around $42 million over that time. About 40% of that is a real loss to us. The other 60% usually is because we don't have any students, so we don't use any teachers. learning and books, materials, etc. And so about 60% is mitigated, the other 40% is lost. So that's close to $17 million a year, every year, ongoing. And between now and 24, 25, we are learning every single year. So I want everyone to be clear in our district that this declining enrollment isn't just about balancing enrollment, it's about our budget and the fact that we have real budget struggles in the U.S. Okay. Next slide. I won't spend a lot of time on this, just being clear that this has been talked about since at least 2013-15 when we knew that we would start declining enrollment. And we had several committees. The largest one and most concentrated effort was the CAC, the Community Advisory Committee on Enrollment. And when I started in 2017-18, I was handed a report from that committee and brought that to the board, and we had conversations about, so where do we go from here? And in a minute, I'm going to talk to you about this stake in the ground and numb to dust and ideas that came up from those conversations. And since that was happening, we have had many conversations with a smaller community, primarily staff, talking about, so what do we do next, what can we put forward? And then we had committees with board members on it as well. All right, and we are here today talking about broader community conversation, which is our commitment for this entire year, not just now, but between now and the end of the year. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this stake in the ground. A couple of things that we came up with last year around enrollment. Number one was we tried to define, well, what is a school that is too small? Because we were saying, well, we're worried about it, the schools that are a little bit too small. And how do we define that? So programmatically, we define both programmatically and efficiency of using our funding. We said that we feel we need to have at least 3 kindergarten classes and have those 3 rolled up each year, which would get you to 432 students. So basically, a little over 400 students is kind of that minimum level we're shooting for. And just to be clear, once you get down to a couple of classes of kindergarten, it does have an impact on professional development, on the collaboration of teachers, on how many classrooms we can separate students into. Otherwise, they spend the whole year sometimes in the same class with each other, and teachers don't have that ability to move people around. So there are a lot of real consequences to having fewer than 3 beyond just the money. But certainly, efficiency of dollar it dwindles as you get smaller and smaller. We talked a couple of years ago now about our sweet spot is in having 4 or 5 kindergarten classes, which gets you 576 or 720 as a total. And our hope was we don't really want to be bigger than 6 Ks. 864 is pretty big. But remember, we're starting with, at the time we had this conversation, we had 1,200 students at sophomore. In elementary school, bigger than some of our middle schools at this moment in time. And then we had some small schools that were around 300. And some that the data was showing they're coming from 415 and down and down and down over time. So that's where the concern came from. And we asked ourselves, well, how do we find our problem this year? And we said, this is what we should do. This was the sweet spot. Now we get 4 of you board members, we're not on board at the time, but that was what drove all of the work that we did from that time on. So next slide. So then we said, right, that's not, we talked about everything. We looked at zoning change and all sorts of different things. And we said, well, let's not do anything too drastic. What if we just try this notion of changing our policies to allow open enrollment at all of our schools, and whatever we prioritize the smaller schools, we work with their communities to say, well, what would be a specialty thing that you might do, whether it's STEAM or STEM or the arts or whatever, and maybe we could promote that Baseline 2017-18. So this is just sort of a 3-year period, basically. So Kennedy Middle School at that time was at 12, that's at 80? Sorry. Yeah. And then the following year was 1199. That's a loss of 89 students in 1 year. And again, that's not really a loss of 89. It's probably a loss of 200 and then a gain of some other, but it's not like a 1% all of 89 fewer students. And then in 1920, it went to 1,131, and another drop of 68. The projection for next year, and again, our numbers right now projecting for the next year are really quite good. We generally are close for either way. Because the only thing that really makes a difference is we know how many 5th graders are going to 6th grade, and we know how much fewer that is than the 8th graders going out. And that's been a pretty reliable thing. We know that. And so it is assumed that we will have cumulatively dropped by over 500 students in that 1 year. So you can go through each of the feeders. Note that a few of them don't all come to Kennedy, but they mostly do, with the exception of Blue Hills, where most of them actually go to Miller. I looked today, we only have 13 students in the Blue Hills area total that go to Kennedy Middle School. So the number isn't very great there, but we included on this one. And same for Montclair. I'm not sure what that number is in the city. No, the most go to is the point. So as you look at these numbers, the ones that are most related at this moment in time to this decline are Stevens Street, Redgard, and Lincoln. What I will tell you is when we started this process a couple of years ago, we were not really worried about Redgard and Stevens Street in particular. They were okay, they're smaller, and we saw some trends going there, but it was anomalous that, or shocking, I would say, to us, to see this drop of, let's say, Stevens Street -10, -54 a year, and another 37 compared to next year. That's way higher than we thought. Redgard, exact same thing. We did not predict that rate of 45 drop, 18, and then predict another 13 next year. So all of a sudden, we're saying now at this point, okay, we need to get some focus in. But just to be clear, we haven't given enough time with this set. We did not predict this time, especially we did some of the other schools, which is why like Blue Hills has already been working on becoming a STEAM school. Montclair, we were working for a preschool there, we started those things. So they've been able to stabilize it a slightly bit more, but at this point, we're at an earlier stage of the schools. I just wanted to do that one. At some of these meetings, people have asked us to get more information about wait lists at these sites in terms of the open enrollment. The main thing here is to note that there's really never at any one grade level in any one school enough to actually open up enough classes, because we generally need at least 15 students to pay for itself to do that. And we usually staff them at 24. And so you can see that it hasn't, and all of these schools do have open enrollment students in their schools anyway, so it's not like we don't have students that we do, but these are the ones that are still on the wait list. This phenomenon, 6th grade of 52 students in Kennedy, all of our middle schools seem to have this uptick in that 6th grade, and I'm not sure what that is, but I just said everybody at that time thinks maybe I want to go to this school, so that's why they get their kids on a list, but it's kind of equal. It's almost all those middle schools in 6th grade have that, then if you look at 7 and 8, they take themselves off that list, or they got it, right? They roll in over time. So this is the one. Deb, are we looking at larger enrollments or not? Are we looking at large these at all? I can't remember if this was in that kind of format. No? Okay, so this is the color of that as well. Yeah, some people here don't have as good eyes as I do. So just taking a look at this, my first thing I want to point out is that, and the board has heard this from me already, but we started, this is an old slide that we had, and those two right columns really were, I would say, irrelevant or confusing for people in a lot of ways. Because what it does is you just take Blue Hills going across how many are going to alternative schools, and it adds up to 96 in that blue column coming down. And this is something we didn't do in our first meeting, actually. We didn't share this, but somebody in the first one said, well, should we be collecting data about alternative oh, if we didn't have alternative schools, then we wouldn't have a problem. And that is just not what the point was at all. And so I want to clarify that, because what it usually goes what it said right here is that, well, at the time you had 328 students, and if you added to the 96, well, then they would have 400 and whatever, so they're not really a small school, or they're a small school, but they're not too small. But the reality is that 328 is made up of about 100 students that are open enrolled that aren't in that community anyway. And number two, we have no idea what the 96 students would have done were they not in there, so it's just kind of not a fair analysis to make. What is important about this is to know that we have 2,168, is it? Yeah. Some people can't see well. 69, 2,169, and on the wait list for those is 1,162. The thing I want people to understand is that choice in this community is clearly a very important thing, but so is neighborhoodness. And so, many people have the choice and take it to go to the neighborhood school. The vast majority do, but obviously there are a lot of people who really do care about their choice schools. And it is fair for people who are smaller schools to say, well, wait a minute, how many of our neighborhood kids are not coming to our school? And this does not include private school, obviously. So we don't know the neighbors how many are going to private school. What I will tell you is that we have data, sorry I don't have it today, but we do have data about that wait list. And there's a fair number of students there that, since they did not get into all schools, they have chosen to go to private schools. So when we meet on the 23rd, we hope to have good data on that, because I don't really want to throw out numbers without having those, so we will really close on the 23rd. Okay. Next. So this is the other one that is cause concern, and I need to clarify again to everybody, the board has not discussed any of this, so they do not have any idea in mind of what we should do. But all of those communities I showed earlier, these are the things that were brought up, and these are frankly the things that every single school district that is thinking about declining enrollment in high area, it's the same things that everyone raises. There is nothing different here from all those possibilities that are out there. But I know that they've got a little focus on the more drastic side of consolidation, eliminating schools and things like that. And so that has caused the most consternation clearly in our community. And I get it for good reason, but just know we have not made that sort of decision. Full disclosure, and you want the board to know that when I was here last year, not coincidentally talking about the music program and working with the families and the school on the fear of losing Mr. Sue, and we ended up saying, well, we were going to find a way to keep him here in spite of the enrollment problem that we have, and obviously he does an amazing job here. But I do want to say that I put out to this community, well, why don't you take a look at, since we did see this decline starting, and we're getting a little bit nervous, and said, what if we talked about maybe having it be a magnet school, think about the performing arts, because people would love that, and the parents that were there seemed to like that idea, and so just note that that's the one thing I did put on the table with them when I met with them last year, just saying, what about it? And so that is sort of hanging out there, and we have not discussed it, as you know, we have not discussed it. So I'm not going to get into all of it. This is a full laundry list of things that are out there that we can still talk about, that the board needs to know has been talked about over time, and never the specifics about, well, what if we did, did this or that. It's really been this generically the big picture things like that. I'm not going to go over those right now. So process going forward, we're going to complete our 2 more listening sessions, and then we will bring the data again to the board on the 23rd. I think we'll have also new information by then, which is good to have waited for that reason. We'll discuss criteria for making decisions and identify next steps and provide direction timeline. We do have a committee that has 2 board members on it, on enrollment. We're going to meet with them next week. I think it's next week, right? Yeah, to just talk about what we learned so far and start planning for the January 23rd meeting. And that group will probably get in before that meeting, and we'll bring in front of you a way to look at the data and to look at everything that we talked about. That's what we are showing to do for the event. Those are the next steps. And I will reiterate, we said we would spend the whole year talking about data points, right? So, just go to the next one for me. I just want to real quickly say that if you go to our website, you can always use you put something in and you will find on enrollment, you will find it. And if you scroll down below the fold on the website, yeah, so you can still always use the search, but then you can go to About Us, you can go to Archive, where we have all this information, but we're working on having a button that will have all of this stuff in one place. So it's real simple, you just go and click on it, and I think we're working there. And then we're on one more, another place on our website to find this. Can you scroll down a little bit? Yeah. And just note that you can always go to Word Docs, which is where we keep our agendas. And so find the data there, and there's a search function, and then there's a little gear arrow that's up there where actually it'll take you to where all this stuff is as well. So just know that we've been working on making sure our website has all of these data reports that are a place where you can go, and it includes the CAC committee excuse me, report that was done, and many other documents as well. So I can't promise that it's done right now if you want to look at it, but that is what we're working on, and there's certainly a fair amount of data documents. And with that, and I think we have some parents from some.
We do, but we're going to have clarifying questions to you first.
Okay.
So the board, maybe we're going to have any clarifying questions for Craig, now we need to have a jury, as you know.
If you heard it.
Okay, I heard this, yeah. All right, so thank you, Craig.
Okay, thank you.
So next, we're hearing from the people from regular, I believe it's parents and teachers. So we have Malanini, Polly, Yari, and Kelly. So if you will come up for your presentation, I hope I've done your names correctly. Okay, fine. So are you teachers or parents?
We're parents, and then we're the PTA, and then the staff also.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to hear from PTA first.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for having us. We'd like to introduce ourselves. My name is Kelly Crosby. I'm the current president of the Regular Elementary PTA, and
I'm Dottie Toledo. I'm currently vice president of the PTA, former president last year.
so we'd like to share a little bit about who we are and what we do as a PTA. We work in conjunction with the parents and teachers and staff, and we work with the CUSD as well. Our goal is to, obviously there's slide for our students. And to provide additional enrichment programs to all of our students as well. So one of our goals is to increase the transparency between the board and the district, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about what's been done right now so far. We've had 2 community meetings with Dr. Baker and with Ms. Means of CUSD, and we've had multiple conversations, and Ms. Leon has visited our school as well and come to one of our PTA meetings as well. These community meetings that we've had with Dr. Baker have been attended by over 100 members of our community, not only by parents who have children at the school right now, but also parents who have had children at school or just neighbors who are
actually mentioned it, but we would really love to be a performing arts school. Kennedy has such an amazing music program. We're the theater school in Kennedy. It would be awesome to have performing arts, music at Red Art, build that up. They come here, it's strong, and they go on to Monte Vista as music aficionados. It would be amazing. I think that would just, we really think it would drive. We currently have a theater program at our school that is popular. We put on productions. We have a company called Starting Arts, and last, just a couple months ago, they just did Alice in Wonderland, and this coming January, they're going to start rehearsing for The Little Mermaid. And students love it. You know, it's just so much fun. And this last performance, the majority of the cast were the really shy kids. And it was shocking and amazing to see them perform these characters. And when you see them on campus, they don't even look at you. So it's just a great opportunity to have them come out of their shell. In addition, we do question legislation to change funding models, and we need to do something about it. So we really are working on what can be done in either, I know they're starting to have committees, but we really rally behind that, changing legislation because of the budget and all this stuff. Like, we understand why we don't have money. It doesn't make sense, but it does, you know what I mean. But we really advocate for more legislation for parents to go out and help with the legislation process. Also, let's see here. Closing our school will compromise what makes our district and our neighborhood so special. Red is just a special little gem. It really is. If you ever walk on our campus, you know it. From the staff, they're just warm and welcoming to the parents. The parent community is just one of a kind, and I didn't realize how special it was until you talk to other parents, and you know, it's a great community. We do have some recommendations. First, I want to thank you so much for doing this, taking your time from your family's lives. It means a lot to us that this is important to you as well, and that you listen to all the various school sites and the feeder schools and all that stuff. So thank you. We really appreciate the open process and the transparency. We do recommend replacing Steve with a foundation and a brand new board that's not what Steve is right now. We need something brand new, something that is can make money. Bottom line, we're not making any money, and it's so frustrating. I'm so frustrated. I'm a fundraiser professional, and it's so frustrating to me to sit through and watch these, and you see the numbers, and we raised $100,000 for Red Art 3 years in a row. Just us, our community, and Steve only brought in, I think, $350,000. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's embarrassing. So I really believe that we need a new foundation. We need a new organization with a brand new board. We start over, and we're going to commit to raising money, bringing it to our districts, and it will benefit all 25 schools. We need to change the thoughts of all the other schools. There's some that are so like, oh no, it's my money. You don't know, we're all in this together. And Dr. Baker mentioned that before at various other meetings, and we are. You know, how great it would be to buy toilet paper for all the schools at the same time. Save money. Wow, what a concept. You know what I mean? It's just, in this day and age, it's so frustrating. So I feel very, obviously, I feel very passionately about this. So also, nearby communities are raising millions of dollars. Palo Alto, Saratoga, $6 million. What did we raise? $350,000? When Redmond raised $100,000? It blows my mind. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Corporate development should be our priority in getting big companies on board with supporting CUSD. And I know we always talk about Apple this and Apple that, but there's other companies besides Apple. Yes, we need to nurture that relationship, but we need someone to go out and hobnob, shake hands, go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings, get going, go to the fundraiser events. Like, you don't just sit there and there's money to be given away. And it's just right there, and I feel like no one's, you don't have time. school, they say, oh wow, that's the best in the country. That's like one of the #1 districts. And we want to tell that. We do have amazing staff. We do so much with so little. We have so little, and it's amazing what we're able to produce. But come on, in this day and age, we need to do better. We just do.
We do have a few more. Just so you know, yeah, I'll be very fast. We have done some of our own research about students that are going to private school, and so I would love to share that information with you. It's anecdotal, but it's also very candid, and so if you would like that information, I would love to share it with you. The other two are, we would, just really like to continue transparency. I think that that's really important to our parent community, and we would really appreciate it going forward, especially as any decisions are made. So we really thank you for your time. We are in this together, and we really want to work with you, and we're happy to help, and we are here to be part of the community too, and we're really proud of our school, and we want you to know that. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Staff members from regular school, Holly and Talia.
Respected Dr. Baker, esteemed members, the CUSD School Board and Executive Board, fellow CUSD staff, principals, our wonderful PTA, parents, and community members, good evening. My name is Molly Garkali, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Redmart. I've been there for 14 years and started out as a student teacher. I'm privileged to represent over 40 colleagues' thoughts and opinions, so even though I love to be informal, I will stick to script. We are having a lot of thoughts and ideas to represent our school. Redmart is a true symbol of Cupertino, as it was named after a family that had deep roots and influences in the area. We have Redmart Road, Redmart Creek Trail, and of course our wonderful William Redmart School. Our school is a vital corner of the district, as in the past, 2 schools had closed and became parks. We're in a cozy neighborhood and are not directly impacted by heavy traffic. Children can walk, scooter, and ride their bikes to school. Our campus is lovely and includes a tree-lined perimeter, a covered eating area, a renovated GLC with a tower, a flex lab, a stage, an art room, a music room, a garden, 3 quality play structures, and an expansive grass field with a track that the community uses for sports and exercise regularly. However, of course, the true value of Redmart doesn't lie in its buildings and its physical environment, but its warm and friendly community. As staff members, we think of Redmart as our second home. That's a lot to say for people who go to work. We work there, and we think of it as our second home. And we're proud of our strong connection with the families of our students, as well as with each other. These are my colleagues on a Thursday evening after work. Both classified and certificated staff that comes to Redmart have a long history of continuity. Almost all of us teachers have been here for 8 to 36 years. The value that Redmart offers its students comes from many of its programs. We have a special education program that has a continuum from TK to 5th grade. And by the way, our teachers here are from TK to 5th grade right now. On Wednesday mornings, we have large numbers of our alumni that help in our classrooms right here from Kennedy in our weekly Kennedy Helpers program. We have student clubs supported by parents and staff that cater to the various interests and talents of our students, like our cooking, technology, and living values clubs, math clubs, card clubs, Lego clubs, puzzle club, chess club, and of course, our very popular theater club. Our PTA is so strong that parents from past years continue to engage with us, and you heard how much they raise. These are special people in our community. There are classes offered by our school counselors and school psychologists to support students who might need the additional support. Please join me in appreciating the real champions of Ragnar. about Ragnar. By the way, the slideshow was put up by teachers in 2 days. That's a huge accomplishment given that we're still teaching. Some fun facts about Ragnar. It's been around so long that when I talked to the school counselor, she said her aunt and uncle attended 50 years ago. And there's, at every grade level, there's a teacher, and half the office, including our custodial staff, whose own children have gone to Ragnar. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. We do realize that there is declining enrollment, but looking to the future, we are open as a staff to work with our PTA on different ideas to increase student enrollment. In Redmart, we already focus on the whole child, ranging from social and emotional growth to art, music, academics, sports, and most importantly, the character development and moral values that we emphasize in every area. It is with our hearts that we are sharing that as teachers we impact the lives of children every single day in what we do. We do realize that there's a powerful impact. To teach is to touch lives, and we would like to touch the lives of students in the future as well as the present at Redmart Elementary School. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to the listening session, and I'm going to read some things to you because I want you to hear the same thing the other groups have heard. So we've been hearing from many community members over the past few months. Staff and board members have held multiple meetings at the schools with parents and community members. Staff has also met with school staffs. Board members have received many emails, and we have met with various individuals and groups from all of our schools. We have lots of information and feedback from parents and community members. Please know that we are listening carefully and we will consider all input when we deliberate in January. Much of what we have heard has been about what people do not want us to do. But we haven't heard a lot of suggestions about what might be good solutions to balancing enrollment. So I hope those of you who are speaking tonight will have some ideas about other solutions that we might consider. And I just want to kind of get a quick hand raise of these three items, I think, to see if they resonate with you. So I know there are fears and concerns out there about closing schools. Raise your hand if that's a concern of yours. Okay. Leaving aside for a moment the question of school closures, specific alternative schools. If alternative schools are to be a part of the solution, do you believe they should be closed? Is that something that concerns you? Raise your hand. No. Okay. Many of you would like more clarity about the degree to which we are trying to solve a budget problem as compared to addressing and balancing the enrollment problem. Raise your hand if that's a concern of yours. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So now I'm going to I want to go over the ground rules. I think it's important that we follow these ground rules so that everything is respectful and we can move through our speakers as quickly as we can so we can hear from everyone. So here we go with the rules. The purpose of this listening session is to hear from members of the Kennedy community and the feeder schools to Kennedy about enrollment. Any thoughts or ideas you have about this topic will be considered when we'll discuss it in January. As you may know, we mentioned this before, we'll hold listening sessions at each one of those schools so all communities will have an opportunity to be heard. This session is being filmed. It's not being streamed live, but it will be on our website in a couple of days, so you'll be able to find it there if you want to watch it. So it's important that we all follow these rules. So the first one is to save time. There are no comment cards tonight. So if you wish to speak, you'll just line up. We'll have 2 lines. Stacy will monitor that, and we'll have a line at each. We'll see how many. Yeah, I'll check on it. 1 line or 2 will help you. When you speak, please state your name and your school or community affiliation. Speak clearly in the microphone so we have clear audio when we post the video. Each person will have, I don't know, I'll tell you how many minutes in a minute. Please enter your comments as soon as you get a signal. And if Renee has a fairly obnoxious signal that will be clear when it's time for you to stop talking. I know you've had a chance to applaud the teachers and the PTA members, and that's great, but I'm going to ask you not to do any more applause because that holds up our time. So if you agree with what the speaker said, just raise your hand and we'll know that you're supporting what that speaker said. If a previous speaker has said the same thing you intend to say, please do not repeat. If you have questions, we will take note of them and consider them when we deliberate. We will not respond to your questions tonight. At the end clarifying questions of the staff. There won't be any discussion tonight. The reason for these goals is to maximize our time so we can hear from all speakers, and we thank you for your cooperation. Then, after all you've heard tonight, now raise your hand if you're intending to speak. Okay, every speaker will have 3 minutes. You can line up over by Stacy. She's standing up in the middle there, and we'll get started with our listening session. The board will all be taking notes, probably on our computers, so you'll see us typing a bit. That's just note taking. Just come on around if you're going to speak. Keep coming, make a line in the middle. Okay, state your name and your affiliation.
My name is Rick Britton, and I work here at the Cupertino School District. You guys know me. But some might not know that I went to school here at Kennedy. And, you know, just speaking from the heart, that I went to school here, and I went to Garden Gate and Monte Vista. I did programming classes here at Kennedy, and I use that programming skills today to do HVAC for the school district. So I just want you guys to think about when you're thinking about closing schools, maybe, you know, students that are going to school here might end up actually coming to work for you.
Thank you. Roll call, please. I know it's in the play, we love to hear you. We're not going to clap. Thank you, Rick. Next.
Hi, my name is Alfred Chen, and I'm a parent who has 2 daughters. One is currently 3rd grade at Regnart, and one recently graduated. She's going to Kennedy. We moved to the neighborhood about 2011, and I think everything the teachers and the PTAs spoke about today is what drew us to Regnart. And I'm just here to support the school because I think it's a great school. It's a safe community, and you know, my kids aren't able to be here, but they share the same thoughts as well. The other thing I want to mention is at my work, I actually met someone who is a Regnart alumni, and he graduated like 30, 40 years ago from Regnart, and he spoke extremely highly of it when he heard that, you know, I was living in the same neighborhood, and I just want to kind of reaffirm that, you know, there is a legacy here that carries on from generation to generation. Just want to mention that. And one other thought about students going to private school. This is something I heard from my daughter, which is kind of interesting in that apparently some parents are taking their kids to private school after Regnart, mainly because of the concerns about how challenging Monte Vista is. So they wanted to put them in private school to get them ready for high school. So one thing we have to also think about is to make sure that there's really parity in terms of education from, you know, K all the way to high school, right? That will properly prepare our kids, you know, from elementary all the way through, so there's not this exodus after elementary school. So that's my thoughts.
All right, thank you very much. Next.
Hi, my name is Brian Tonell. My child goes to Regnart Elementary. One of the things I wanted to talk about was I work in the tech community, I work for Microsoft, and talking to other parents, they send their kids to private school, and the other speaker touched on it a little bit, but what I want to share is, you know, in this community, right, people may be sending their kids to private school. Those are the people who want to try to attract back to help with enrollment. And how do we communicate all this great community and programs that we have? We heard from PTA and staff at one school. I'm sure other schools are also passionate about them not wanting to be closed in the programs they offer. We talked about fundraising. How do we make that, take that money if we're going to raise more? How do we get that into the schools? How do we then communicate to the community? Tell them, look at what these schools are doing. Why are you paying thousands of dollars every year to send your kids to a great school? You go to a great school here that's in your community, and by the way, just gives half of what you're giving to them, not all of your kid. Right? I mean, how do we attract those people back and utilize and hit them in their pocketbook, right? Why are you paying college tuition to send your kid to elementary school? And those are the parents we need to pull back and communicate to them all the great things that are going on. And I think that's something we should really look for and get all these schools back to where they need to
I feel like I stayed in the community. I came back to teach here. My kids went to Bernard. My home school is Blue Hills, but since I taught Bernard, my kids went here. And one of them currently still goes to Kennedy. The other one graduated in 8th grade. So I just wanted to let you know that you do have people coming back, like the first gentleman that spoke. And if you keep running our limit, hopefully more people, more kids will come back into our community.
Thank you, Larry. Next.
Hi, so I'm Kelly Crosby. You already heard from me as the PTA president, but I wanted to talk as a parent. I have a 4th grader and a 2nd grader at Regnard, and I spend an inordinate amount of time at Regnard. I spend quite a bit of time in my kids' classrooms, volunteering for the PTA, also volunteering to the classrooms, and I do that because Regnard is a very special place. There is a very strong sense of community. It is someplace that I like to go because the teachers are not only my friends, but the office staff is my friends. The people that are there are very welcoming, and it feels to me like, and I've heard this from a lot of other parents, but it feels like a private school because of the way that it has such a strong sense of community. And so that's something that, you know, you can't buy. It's just inherent in the way that it is. So I just wanted to say that as a parent, I give so much of myself and I give so much of my time because it is such a special place, and I just wanted you guys to know that. So thank you so much for listening to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, next.
So my name is Yi. I have 2 kids. My son is in the TK, in the K in Ragnar, and my daughter is still like preschool. So the story I want to share is that we actually, for some logistic issue, we just moved in a few months back. We have the option of going to either Lincoln or Ragnar. And as a tech person, we always do the due diligence, and the choice I made was going to Ragnar. And if any time in the future is possible, I will send my daughter to Ragnar as well. So the reason is that it's really a good school, and I really like the K there. And also, like from my observation after school and all the trainings, we found that you like a tech or the Lincoln students are still like the Ragnar students better. So it's really truly wonderful. Yes, that's very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, good. Next.
My name is James. I'm from Columbia. I don't want to speak first because I want them to speak since there's that's the 2 days. The enrollment has started now. And Dr. Baker initially went to 3 schools as an enrolled Baker and Columbia and Reynolds. And because we have no enrollment and the data is also. But by going to the schools talking about enrollment and talking about possibility of calling schools, make the situation worse, especially now, because now we're going through enrollment, parents become the same. And because we have this open enrollment, we provide choice for parents to go to other schools, right? So parents would try to go to other schools because there's an uncertainty for Ragnar, Columbia, and Maryland. So the situation, enrollment for these 3 schools will become worse because parents doesn't want that uncertainty. They would rather go to a different school in there. So by going to this 3 school, talking about this 3 school, already make enrollment number as a matrix to decide whether or not to close school. I think that's too early to say. So the board has not said what's the metric for closing school. But apparently, and they give us the impression that the enrollment number is already a metric to whether or not to decide whether or not the school will be closed. And that uncertainty made Junior Ragnar even worse. People will not want to come here. It's not because the school is not a good school, but because it's uncertainty. So the other thing I will talk about time is that I came late, but I read the presentation, the budget presentation, 5-year budget projection, and the revenue is based on average daily attendance. depends on the policy. They don't study what's the difference between private school and policy. They study population.
Thank you, Gene. Next.
Hi everyone, I'm Will Llewellyn from Cedar Tree. I also wear another hat though, and I want to respond to you. She had a specific line on her slide about Steve's evolution and giving everybody a voice at the table through Steve. And it is evolving. I'm part of a coalition where we're evolving Steve from what it was. We might even have a new name and everything. And we are going to have a board member from every school. So it's so wonderful that you brought that up, sort of, in a nice way. So we are in it together. I proudly wear this pin still. I still donate to the campaign. It's not just at your school. You gotta remember that. It's not just about your school. It really is about all of our schools and all of our kids. And you have to think of that mentality, and it's hard, it's challenging, because we're all thinking about our own pockets and our own bank accounts and our own kids, but we gotta remember that as a community, as a village, education, it takes a village. It's about parents being involved and volunteering and coming to the school and helping out. It's not just money. It's like we need your time. We need so much more than just that. And if we can figure out through this coalition, in collaboration with the board, with the district, with all the PTAs and all the organizations, then we can actually get our community back involved again. There's this volunteer fatigue. People are just so burned out because you have your 20% that will bend over backwards for the school, but then the 80% are out working 2 jobs to pay bills, and I get it. But we gotta get people back in the schools again. That's all. Now I want to keep it positive. Let's stay tuned for more on this coalition, because we really are going to make changes in 2020. We're going to get more than 300,000. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Ellie Tom, and I'm affiliated with Ragnar Elementary School. I went to Ragnar and went to Kennedy and Monte Vista, and my husband as well. He's married there. Our children as well go to Ragnar. We do go to Kennedy and Monte Vista as well. And I wanted to speak of how special the Ragnar School is to us. I think it really fosters an environment where children are very kind and loving and warm. Just another one of my bridesmaids at our wedding also went to Ragnar, Kennedy, and Monte Vista, and she also married somebody that went to Ragnar, Kennedy, and Monte Vista. We're also best friends. She unfortunately couldn't afford a house in the area for her son is 2 years old now, but she's really hoping when it's time for him to go to elementary school that she can move to the area so that we can go to Ragnar, Kennedy, and Monte Vista as well. Another fun fact is my husband's third grade teacher is still at Ragnar, and just goes to show that a lot of the staff that you heard from today love the school and stay there because it's such a warm, loving environment. That's all I wanted to share today. Just wanted to speak my mind on how special the school Ragnar is to the community, to parents, and to the teachers.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Julie Ward, and my son went to Lincoln, Kennedy, and Monte Vista, and then on to the University of Oregon, and he's living in Oakland. Anyway, I represent the aging boomers who still occupy a majority of the homes in this area. And I think we need to get to the community and I think we need to be more explicit to the community that we have a major problem with lack of turnover of homes in this area. In the city of Cupertino, there were fewer than 500 homes on the market in the last year. That means that the few homes that do come up, the percentage with school-age children is relatively small. So the decline in enrollment is not going to change. So, number one, support more housing for both teachers and for students. And secondly, I greatly appreciate the trade-offs that you have to make in dealing with the financial situation here. Because costs are going up and your revenue is going down, and I don't see a major change there unless you make changes in the structure of the school system here. And I'm glad I'm not sitting on this house, making those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
This is Tony. I'm married from SIA Elementary. Because it's not talking about closing my home school, but I'm still here. I just want to share a couple of points. One, that it's really hard, much harder to open a school than closing a school. It's much hard. And the process, everything, maybe take decades to open one new school in the community. The third point I want to share is that, I should ask the audience, how many of you have played the game Monopoly? Great. You put it on page, right? So you know when there is a school in the neighborhood, nearby infrastructures, the value goes up or down. Whoever believes that is up, raise your hand, please. Yes. So that is common sense. So it's hard to do good things, and also it's hard to do the right things. But sometimes we really have to make a hard decision. And so when we make decisions like this, we would we really want to keep an eye on the long term. Instead of, okay, if we see in the last few years there is a decline of enrollment, then we quickly close the school just to adapt to it. And for whatever reason, cost or education and the quality, the other gentleman mentioned that there are a lot of people sending their kids to private school. Instead of just looking at the numbers, we should ask more questions, deeper questions about why they are abandoning our beloved public California education and they go to the private school. We would rather pay more for the private schools instead of our great public education. We would ask you why, right? If you have been providing very good quality of education without all these drama things happening, then I guess the enrollment will come back, right? So we should look at the number, we should ask why, instead of just accept all these numbers as it is, and believe that it's going to be that way always. That will change, up and out, right? So we should adapt our plan, right? With a long-term mindset. All right, thank you. That's it.
Next.
Hi, my name is Jean, and I'm a Ragnar parent and also the committee member of the art docent program in Ragnar. Just a little bit introduction. So we moved in Cupertino last spring. Previously, we live in Mission San Jose. It's another very school district. I think compared with Mission District, I really love Ragnar because I think it's a really balanced school, and I really love the atmosphere in the school as well. Speaking of the difference between public school and private school, actually I sent my daughter to Stratford for 2 years, and I also have a conversation with another parent. He's a brother of my son's soccer league. He lives in Mountain View, and he said his 2 kids were very expensive private school. The reason he doesn't like private school is because he thinks public school does not have accountability. I really have strong feeling about it because this is not true to me. I have personal experience both private school and public school. I strongly believe that the commitment of the teacher and the parents in the Ragnar school, I think they're awesome people. I think Boston school is the last option I see. So I really want to recommend some physical thing because I'm an engineer. I think based on my knowledge, a lot of parents go into PTA each semester, but I think there's a program, CUSD, that's the name, for art and music. Very few people know about it, and the donation is very donation ratio is very low. So I would recommend that maybe the school district board can give us some advice, like how to promote the popularity of this kind of programs and programs like this. Maybe parents be more aware of the more options to donate and help the school.
Thank you very much. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and we'll have a few clarified questions from the board if they have any based on what you heard tonight. Do you have any clarified questions already? I have one. You, Greg. I just want to make sure that everybody understands the timing. So the timeline is we're going to discuss it this spring. Perhaps make some decisions hopefully, but nothing will happen in the fall of 20. The goal is to implement whatever we decide in the 21-22 school year. Is that correct?
Assuming there's something to
It's assuming there's something in it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we will leave open after all your conversations, you know, that time frame you're talking about, whether it be the year after or whether you have conditions on if we get to this stage. So we don't know any of that, but that is a rough sense of what we're planning.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Well, that ends our listening session. Thank you for being such a polite audience, and thank you for all your comments. And we'd love to have you stay for the rest of our meeting, but if you would like not to do that, you're welcome to leave. It's definitely your choice. Oh, but it's budget. Yeah, you'll certainly want to do that.
Very good evening. So Dorothy and I are presenting first interim. The purpose of first interim is really as an information item tonight, and then on December 19th, we will bring back to you if any adjustments that are made through conversation tonight, and then it would need to be approved at the next meeting, and then it gets turned into our accounting as part of the fiscal process. As we take you through first interim tonight, the big picture of this is just understanding the information that we have at hand. We'll talk about that. We're always as good as what we know today. Assuming there's a lot of changes that are going to happen with the budget over the next month. And so with that, our big Dorothy can go first up, please. The purpose for our interim is to be a marker of where we finish based on the adopted budget that the board had in June. And so we take the adopted budget, we apply all principles to the adopted budget, we fulfill all positions and all the movement that take place across the district. And when we get to tonight, a summary of all the work that's been done since June until today. And so as we use this marker, it also guides us into what happens with the governor's proposal in January, which is one of the most important updates that we get as a school district, especially for a school district like us that's so tied to what the funding levels are that we get from the state. Any movement of COLA going up or down, any movement of PERS or STIRS, any of those things that are presented at governor's budget, we take back right away and bring for second interim, and then for second interim, we back into the adopted budget. As we talked about it, this is the first look that you as the board will have at our 5-year projection. When Dorothy and I started doing this last year, we were starting with an $8 million deficit, structural deficit. And I do want to point out, structural deficit doesn't mean that we're not fiscally solvent. I think we sometimes put those together. They're two very separate items, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the 5-year projection of how they're separate. But we are fiscally solvent. We've had a qualified budget, and we will continue to have a qualified budget. What we don't have is, as the district in previous years used a lot of one-time dollars, we haven't completely wiped away all the use of the one-time dollars. We're not using it anymore for personnel, but there's legacy trail with it, and you can't fix a structural deficit in 1 year. It's taking multiple years, which is unfortunately why, as a district and as a school board, there's been cuts made over the last plethora of years. And what we're trying to do, and one of our goals, is to get to a point where we don't have to have that being the case, and really getting our budget as tight as possible, so that whatever changes are at the state, we can address it a little bit better with the decline in enrollment. As Craig talked about during his presentation earlier, 60% decline in enrollment, I don't want to say it's easy, it's not easy, but 60% can be corrected through staffing and the adjustments that are made to books and supplies. We are left to search for that at 40%. So as we've made tremendous progress on cutting down the $8 million structural deficit, we are now facing greater decline in enrollment. So it's, the success gets lost because you're still going to see a structural deficit because we haven't cleaned up all aspects of the decline in enrollment, which is what our task is, especially after we find out what the government proposal will look like. So some of the big focuses for tonight, when you look at our budget or the 5-year projection, is really around education increases. And it's not just about the positions in the district, it's also the cost of the program for our students. One of our goals in the school district is always to meet the needs of all of our students. And as part of that, there's cost levels that change depending on what the students' needs are. And we have seen, and we've talked about this, the continued increase in special education costs of all districts, especially in the St. Clair region, is something that is very challenging. And I say this for all districts, it's very challenging to address. If you used to have a non-public school-based program, might have been $80,000 before, those programs were running $120,000, $140,000, $165,000 range. And we don't, and our special education population is about 8 to 10%. And so when you think about not every student is going to be in a non-public school placement, but we have seen those costs on over the years. And that's one example of a lot of examples that are tied directly to special education. And that's with really no increase in funding for special education. So it really comes out of our general fund dollars. We talked about transportation in the November 14th meeting, and what the cost of general education transportation is versus special education transportation. Special education transportation requires general education transportation is not. In January, we're going to bring back some of the recommendations that Gordon and I were asking about to the last meeting. We're going to go a little bit into the revenue enhancement strategies. Craig's going to comment on this, so I think we can move past that. But you'll at least see where the enrollment plays into our 5-year projections, and then ultimately we'll talk about that 5-year projection. So as we talk about, I also want to give kudos to our budget advisory committee because we had a great discussion. Again, the budget advisory committee we have in the district has 2 of our board members. It has all 3 of our union presidents and principals across the district. It's classified management. We had a great conversation, discussion, and we actually addressed some pieces of this after that meeting. And I think just grounding everybody with understanding how public education budgeting works, it's complicated. And what we tried to do tonight, one of our goals is to try and simplify it into ways so we can see those numbers and watch that trail. With that being said, every single dollar is tracked. It's also in our SAS report that can be found on our website. And the SAS report is the details of every single dollar that we have.
Jeff, real quick. I just want to mention, we have laptops here for those, because I know this is really hard to see. So if you want to pull this up, we have these here for you. I'm happy to bring them around to you, okay? And so just raise your hand and I will bring you one if you'd like to have it.
So this one, we'll see this 5-year projection again at the end of the presentation. I want to call out a few things in the presentation right now. So 1920 is in green, that's where we are at right now. We're presenting information tonight related to the budget that was adopted in June. Our current budget, actually, we're able to cut down the structural deficit a little bit more. It's currently sitting at $4.9 million. Again, we started 18-19 at $8 million. We made tremendous strides, and that is with an increase in special education costs. When we talk about a structural deficit, if you take a look at the total revenue, which is $190,561, to the total expenditures, that's where that $4.9 million deficit comes from. Our goal is always to have the total revenue, total expenditure minimally be a match, while still being able to meet the minimum required of 3% reserve plus the board 3% reserve. Over the years, where you will notice going from 1920 to 23-24, is we are adjusting in the funded ADA. And so at the very top there, you see the 16,945, and above that you see the estimated average daily attendance. That estimated average daily attendance, when you move from left to right, becomes the next year's funded ADA. So we add the enrollment, you take that funded ADA time multiplied by the per pupil funding that we receive. We'll talk about the differences between basic aid and LCFF in a couple slides. But as you see that play out all the way through, you see how the structural deficit, it drops down to 2 million and jumps back up. And what that is attributed to is when you look at the certificate salaries, there always is a 1.5% assumption made in second column. So that's when an employee moves from year 3 to year 4, etc., all the way through networks for certificate and classified positions across the district. So we assume a 1.5% increase. And that's pretty close to being right. It might have a little bit up or down depending on the years of service of that particular employee, but it's a really conservative number that works well for our budget. So what you see is the 1.5% second column increase, and you also, there's an assumption that's already been put in about the number of certificate teachers that we have across the district. That is reflected in the certificate salary. So if we go down 24 students, we assume 1 less teacher. It does not work the same way with classified employees. There is no formula for the allocation of classified employees. It's only for certificate employees. So the classified employees' cost over the years actually increases a little bit, tied to the 1.5% assumption made in the second column. The other thing I do want to point out is that 22-23 is the first year that there's any potential of us reaching a basic aid status. So that we always hear, well, if we were just basic aid, it would all be better. And one of the things that I think is important to know is in order for us to be better with basic aid, we actually would need a 10% swing. Because at most right now, with house is, with the fixed amount, which comes from, say, our calculation that we do, it's only $200 more per student. So we would move from one of the lowest funded school districts in LCFF to the lowest funded school district with basic aid status. So just keep that in mind. It's not a perfect world, and we would probably bounce back and forth between basic aid and LCFF funded because of the dynamic that we have in our particular city. We have a very unique challenge. And I know a lot of school districts today have unique budgeting challenges. We're one of only a handful of districts in the state of California that face this situation. So I do think there is a uniqueness to what we have here that we collectively face. We can look at this. So, thank you, Murphy. So the reserve has been met in all the years until 22-23 as well. We still are fiscally solvent in 22-23 because remember the state minimum requirement for reserve is at 3%. With that being said, 23-24, if we made those changes, and when I say changes, these are difficult choices we all make, but in order to be fiscally solvent, it will have to be changes that are made in the 2021 budget in order to then be what is required in 23-24. The asterisk there that Dorothy was calling out that I forgot to mention is in 23-24, it's a huge item actually, is our current parcel tax that brings in $8.67 million to the district, and we're very, very thankful that our community has the support of all these measures because it makes a massive difference in how our budget looks. That 8.66 actually expires at the end of the 22-23 year. We did not assume that 8.6 million were actually allowed to go ahead and carry that forward, but it is important to know that you're really talking that if a parcel tax of that measure was not renewed, it would be an additional 8.6 million at that point in time. So there's no, I'm sorry, can you go back to the last slide? I want to get up one more thing. I'm going to talk about it again, but if you look at the COLA at the top there, you see that it's at 3.26% this year. We were told last year by school service in California, based on everything that Governor Newsom released, that we should go ahead and assume a 3% COLA. We already are getting information that the COLA is going to have a course on that at CSBA. We'll talk about that in a couple slides, but for right now, we've always shared before that the area of the budget that has the easiest chance for a swing is always the COLA we're always seeing, as well as 31st increases. So keep that in mind. No grants to appear likely. We try really hard as a district to apply for grants. We never meet the criteria that the grants are targeted for. There's no one-time dollars that we're anticipating right now, though that might change as some of the adjustments made. We'll find that out in January. And as of right now, there's no new special education dollars that we are assuming in the budget. A couple of things that we consider building. I have already talked a little bit about the LAO thing. But decreasing COLA is not assumed in our budget. All of our information graduate for the very same reason. And the enrollment decreases continue. I know there's a lot of talk about how much, what percentage is accurate. What we have is a steady trend going of what we have been funded at. We are seeing that going forward to 23, 24. After 23, 24, we start seeing it slow down a little bit. But at an open our 10-year projection does show that it's going to either stop or start increasing again.
I want to mention a little bit about the LAO update. This is Lori brought this to our budget advisory committee, and
Can you tell us what the LAO is?
the LAO is the Legislature Analyst Office. They also provide us a projection for the governor's budget, and the School Services of California actually uses the governor's budget, and the LAO is the one that projects, see how it looks like. The school services is more conservative than, that legislature analyst office is more conservative when it comes to projecting the budget than the school services actually taking what the governor's proposing. In this statement, what we're saying here is that when we are getting our base funding, when they speak about the increase in COLA, that means it's that 1.7 increase in our base funding. In reality, we projected a 3% increase for 2021. Now it's actually down to 1.7. It is still an increase in our base funding, but it's not as much as what we had projected in budget adoption.
Thank you. And as we talk about that increase of 1.7, remember you're assuming a 1.5% increase for stepping columns. So you're not really getting new dollars. And that's what I think as a community, you have to always believe in new dollars. The reality is that something else has been cut as we get the new dollars in a different bucket, which again doesn't help us when we are so tight to every single dollar that comes into our district. So a lot of questions about property tax, and I think if we look at it, this is something I pay attention to all the time. We run scenarios all the time of, well, are we going to get basic aid status? If we do get basic aid status, does that help? Because again, we can't control whether or not basic aid. It's not something that we do, it's something that happens to you. And for some school districts, when it happens to them, it actually means a lot more money per student. And for us, if it ever happened right now, it's going to be about $200. And so we don't even get the benefit of dollars. So with that being said, I want to focus on the second side. We use this as a budget advisory, a very recommendation for budget advisory, kind of refining it. And so what we have here is I want to work across, I want to start just with our district because to make the numbers match a little bit more as we talk about it. So for Cupertino, as we look at our 1920 years, we're projecting out, we're assuming about 117 million valuation across the city for assessed value. We take that number divided by our enrollment that we have, that we're projecting for 2021, and it comes to $6,927. With the principle that's applied is what is the base funding, the minimum funding level in California, which is $8,537. So that difference between basic aid and LCFF is the fact that our property tax goes very expensive for the homeowners in our community, for sure, no question about it. But for us as a district, that funding level, 6927, does not match the minimum funding level that is required by the state of California. And so when you look at that, that's that backfill that we talked about, that we share with the board. What is the difference, the additional funding required by the state of California to our budget that helps us reach the minimum funding level? And so the first time, again, the first time we see it is, I believe it was $8,700 is when we were $8,900, whatever it was, $200 more than it is in that fiscal year. So I want to take a step down away from the Cupertino numbers and take a look at 3 city years that are all basic aid. The numbers are, I want to be very careful, the property tax are the numbers we receive. The enrollment numbers are different here because of what's on according to CD. So I want to be very careful. You may see the budget that's out and it's going to show something a little bit different because CD does take a little bit of time to catch up. So please note that. But Sunnyvale, 69 million, 173 million for Santa Clara, 183 million for Palo Alto. Dividing it by their enrollment numbers that they had to CD to 18, 19, you already see that their funding level exceeds that of the minimum funding level by over $2,000 per month. But just under that, and that's not all the money they receive. And I would add, gate. Again, those zip codes are all around it, and here we are sitting at the funding level, one of the lowest in the state of California, one of the most contested, if not the most contested area for them to always keep that in mind. So the quality increase growth rate is most likely going to be 1.7%. We will be able to build that into the second term. I don't think it matters for how big an impact generating budget always has us. And where we're at, and looking at this, that's the regret and move that we will probably have to make this year in order to continue our fiscal solvency, our qualified budgets that we have. But there's tough decisions that have to be made. As the ECT, we've been talking about this, we believe that we have about a $3 million median cut. The earlier we make those cuts, the better it plays out and the way for our employees, what it means for us as a district, but plays out what it means for our fiscal policy. The changes you make now apply 3, 4, 5 years later. The March parcel tax election really could have an impact on us. We recognize that. And then one of the key things for us as a district right now is looking at employee compensation. So those will be our focus. This slide demonstrates the cost of 1%. Remember, we had a decrease in total staffing costs of the district. I believe last year we moved to 1.5 to 1.6 million. We're now under 1.5 million. And these are our current numbers for the personnel cost of 1,538 FTE. That does not mean number of people. We actually have a little bit more employees in that because we have part-time positions. But that represents the FTE. And just coming back to it and pulling out all the areas of it, it's just looking at our total revenue, total expenditures as we're going forward, highlighting the areas of certificate salary that are going down over time, and the need to close that gap between our total revenue and total expenditure going forward. I think what's next to the board, just looking for doing myself, is January budget proposal is going to be very important for us. And then, we are currently visitors met with HR last week. We're starting to look at the staffing SD for elementary and then middle school process. So we're ready to
Okay, thank you, Rita. So we're going to do clarifying questions, and then we have a comment from a community member after our clarifying questions. So, and I think most of us are going into that session in January, budget session, because we're going to hear we have been taking that. So anyway, clarifying questions.
I have several questions. I don't know if they're thorough. So what do you know you're not thorough?
Okay.
Happy to skip them. I'll run through them real quick. So thank you, Jeff, for the report here. Question one. So this is the projections are a bit different than the projections that was shown when we got the budget back in June. Would you say the primary difference here is the drop in ADA projection that's causing sort of this different trajectory? Just to make sure that's the case.
Absolutely. The case is that it's directly impact our ADA.
Okay. Second question. You talked about special ed increases. Could you quantify any impact? I'm trying to see, are we talking in the hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions? What order of magnitude? Could you speak to that?
I can come back with the detail across the board for all areas. But I can tell you that in one case, we see one of the biggest increases in an individual area that is not local placement, which is why I referenced that earlier. We typically have about 1.1 million for non-local placements, currently sitting at 1.9 million, most likely being about 2 million this year. And that ties to that who needs to see that would be provided for the school district.
Okay. And then at the end, you talked about the EC is sort of looking at maybe $3 million, potentially $3 million extra. Was that number built from sort of a bottoms up or tops down? I'm wondering, because given that we have a structural deficit of $5 million, why do you recommend 3 years? So I'm just a little worried about methodology that you guys use to arrive at that.
Sure. So again, it comes down, our budget is fiscally solid. And I think that, again, we talk about that every other day, it's awesome. But where we do reach a point where we're not fiscally solid is in that 23-24 year. And so when we're looking at a 2.5 million structural deficit in 2021, is can we address that deficit that's there in 2021? Because when you fix it in 2021, you're actually helping yourself in 23-24. So applying $3 million
in that fiscal year is carried forward and get us to where we need to be back in fiscal cycle. We need to tie it before we do that fiscal cycle.
Alright. And then in your projection, in your model, your leads for the number of FTEs in the district in the next 5 years, can you again talk a bit about what that trend looks like? We're looking at a decrease in FTEs, I presume, since there's a decline in enrollment, and if so, around what percentage we're looking at there in this percentage decline? If there's any sort of change, I'm just wondering what in your model for these projections, what do the FTE numbers look like for the district?
I can bring that back. There are students in the budget I do not have those numbers, but it's taking the total number of students each year divided by that 24 number, and that's how you build that FTE. So I can actually come back with that number.
Okay, thanks. The last one is, when you had a slide here that showed property taxes for each different jurisdictions, and I was wondering, do we have numbers on what our student generation rate looks like relative to these districts? Because it seems that that's one of the factors here that's, you know, it's an important ratio that's not here. Again, just off the top of your heads, that's what do we have a higher student generation rate than these other districts, which is driving up our, I guess, load, or just curious to know about this?
Sure. So Cupertino and Palo used to have the two largest student generations in the school district in the state of California. When Tom Williams used to come and present that to the board, he actually talked a lot about that. So when the district peaked at just over 19,000 students, our generation rate was somewhere in the 0.34 range for single family homes. I believe it got down to 0.26, I want to say, for attached home, and I can go back and double check with that to share that. What is happening now, which is why the numbers got a little bit tighter, is with Decision Insight, how they're projecting it, they're actually projecting at 0.2, and that is tied directly to cost of living factors in the area. Where other school districts are right now, with it, I know the entire county is experiencing a significant decline in enrollment. Actually, 2 school districts had any level of increase, and that goes from Gilroy all the way to Palo Alto. So we're all experiencing the decline. We certainly are experiencing a higher level of decline. Where we rank in the county, the highest to the lowest level decline, I don't know if I've seen that number. I do know there's school districts in the area talking about some closure. I do know they're talking about the impact of the decline in enrollment. Even basic school districts are talking about the impact of the decline in enrollment, not tied to the funding level because they're going to have more dollars per student, but they are talking about in terms of the number of students that have their schools, and some of those schools are talking below 400 students, so they're having similar conversations.
Great, thank you. And you ready for one question for Jeff?
I have a good one. It's like for people, the problem reserve, right? The reserve was 6%, and I can see that year 3 is going down. So there's 3% and 3% reserves, right? So is that like, and you know, we have to maintain that. What I thought is that the 3% we need to maintain for reserve for economic. So what is that? How is it that you have to do something to keep that in one more? Because the potential is so low as 6%.
So the minimum requirement for your reserve totals is dependent on the size of your district, the load you can have. Your LA, CA, which are really large districts, their percentage that they have to maintain reserves is actually lower than you can actually break even. For a district of our size, we have to maintain a 3% reserve. That's what we're required to do, which is why even in 22-23, we were below that 6%, we're still considered fiscally solvent. The school board here has, because of what the state did with the previous year, they actually pulled money mid-year. The state actually pulled money mid-year, which is not something that we can talk about how the state cut mid-year. At that point in time, the board made the decision to increase the reserve by an additional 3% so that the minimum reserve for us as a district would be at 6%. So the 3% is what we are required to present, the other additional 3% was the guidance from our school board.
Okay, Patricia, any other questions?
I want to talk about what board reserve would ideally be at for a district ourselves.
So, you know, I think the way
when we talk about an ideal board, because
If we were, I should start with that, if we were actually to be able to weather a significant downturn that would happen, let's say, in yeah, 9 or 11 based on what happened in the recession, what would be sort of ideal to at least weather that without having to do drastic cuts?
So, and we're saying in our LCFF funded model, I think at that point, I looked at it to be around 10 to 11% range. Double the guy, that would actually get for basic aid, you asked me that same question, whether you actually need to be 5%.
But for perspective, back in mid 2005, 6, 7, the most common districts often had 15%. And you just look at the business practice, that would be
Right.
Relative to us, yeah, if we get back to 10% again, that would feel great. But the reality is that people who are just running large organizations wait for it to be in the 50% range.
Anything else? Keep thinking, as always, Jeff. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about, because I think it's super important, that the line item in this table that's employee benefits and why that stays stable across time and what that means for us as far as the employer contributions.
So I'm going to turn back over to Dorothy because I actually like the explanation she gave in the advisory. But when you're talking about, I think there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, there's a 1% increase, 1.5% that's assumed in the certificates that can cost. So that still lives there. There's no reduction actually in classified staff that's assumed in that. And so when you look at those factors, you look at the cost that you have there, employee benefits also brings the surge and PERS into it. So as you have rate increases for surge and PERS, the cost of the district continues to go up, even though you have a reduction in total staffing across the district. And retirement, what George says, the retirement after the cost there.
Anything else? Okay, as always, thank you, Jeff. And we have one person to speak from the audience, Derek, please. Yes. You have 3 minutes, Derek. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Derek. I just have a comment on what I gave you. The first page is what Jeff presented on page 8 on the 5 images. And the second page is the May 2019 5 projections. So looking at the 2020 and 21, the estimated average daily attendance were acceptable. If I do a subtraction between May 2019 versus now, 16,289 minus 15,483, I get 806. So that's a pretty big number, right? Just in 6 months of projections, but all by 800 students. So that resulted into about $6.8 million reductions in revenue. So my question is, how do we be so off? It just exists. That's all.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yes.
So, Jeff, can you remind me when we made the shift from our old to long-term numbers and to decision insight, and also when we tightened up from decision insight moderate to conservative model?
So at the end of our budget advisory last year, we were still using the cross between convoluted numbers and the moderate numbers when we opened up using decision insight. So remember our interesting stage of using decision insight. And what we felt was really important to use convoluted to obviously the many school districts in the county. And so before we made a move, especially when you're using a company that has a very sophisticated algorithm, we wanted to evaluate how accurate that company decision insight would be. So as we were talking about advisory last week, we said, well, let's take a look at this. Tom Williams, here's his years of support and the way he these as segregation. We said, let's take the middle ground between Tom Williams, who's been here for a long time, with the moderate numbers were coming in from Decision Insight. There's a big difference between Tom Williams numbers and Decision Insight numbers. So we took that middle ground between the two of building our budget. What we found is that if we would have used the conservative number all the way through for Decision Insight, we actually would have been under that 1%. We were 1% off of what we were budgeting for this year. We actually found ourselves around the 24.5% difference off. So when we met as a budget advisory in August of this year, we talked to the group and said, hey, this might be the time, let's use the conservative number from Decision Insight. It seems to be higher than what we need, and if we ever get under and have more kids show up and local budgeting, that would be a better problem to have. And so we'd rather be conservative, stay true to our conservative practice, so that, hey, if we end up with 100 more students, that's a positive addition to our budget versus the negative impact. So as of right now, all these numbers are conservative numbers of student budget.
Right, so coming out of budget advisory and the work of staff, if I remember, I can just clarify or correct me if I'm wrong. There was a notice to me that the projections for home weren't tight enough for the state of what we were actually experiencing and helping us start budgeting, tighten that up significantly. And so the difference between, say, what we were talking about a new revised budget versus a first income, the reason we're seeing that change has more to do with the model we're choosing to use and trying to match that up to what we're actually experiencing.
Yes, so 100% we're saying plus we have actual numbers for 1920, so we're able to apply. Here's what we have on October 1st, here's the number of students we have across the district, and here's what we conservative numbers of questions.
And remember that during the enrollment, the state allowed you to use the prior year's numbers, so you don't really lose that in that year. So I just want people to understand that when they say that you just lost $1 million, remember that's actually not quite worse. Now we get to adjust to that, which is why we do a first and a second and then adopt the budget. It's not great, we prefer to know the exact number, but we're outside of the state realizing when you're in this, it's almost impossible to know when you're in a decline, what's that real number, and therefore that's the rule, is that they allow you to do that.
And this problem is that you're defining is why we use, it's how P288 is defined, correct?
How would it?
P288 is why we call out P288, so that situation allows us to account for a 2-year cushion on people who are actually experiencing.
Right.
So Jeff, moving forward, we're going to continue to use the conservative numbers as we budget.
And not just moving forward, but actually, as of now, when they gave us the new numbers a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, we have that, and every data point you see from us since then is using the new conservative number. So you can rest assured, yes, that's what we do.
Any other clarifying questions? We have one more then.
Just right. I think at the last meeting I asked about getting a copy of the model report. Is that available to the public at this point, or take a chance of me getting it so I can read it for Christmas? Or
It will be, we're actually working on posting, we have a final copy for Decision Insight, we already able to post that finally allocated. It will be posted soon.
That's our Christmas gift to you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And if I may just add on to that, we've actually trying to condense every budget document into one folder, because yes, it's all on board docs, it's on our website, but it's in different places depending on the title, we're trying to bring it all into one file.
So we can expect that when most, there will be like a hot link in our most recent news updates, or we'll find out under business services or the financial reports are coming out.
We've actually given our news section, and then we're working on the business services landing page. We can have a document in multiple places on our website.
So the consolidated, you're still talking about anything might want to be accessing our website, they would go to business services, and from there they go to financial reports, and we have a consolidated.
We're still working on the easiest, we're trying to minimize the steps, it's really hard to do.
Yeah, just trying to help go the trail.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more, community speaker, two more actually. Jean Shi. 3 minutes, Jean, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jean. I'm going to talk about the budget. So there's this slide of all these numbers. So that slide know how much money we're going to have in 5 years. Everything depends on that ADA number. And that ADA number is a prediction, and that prediction has been changing. It's changed from June and now. And that prediction number, the slide gives people a wrong impression, as if there is a number for this 5 years. In fact, when you do the projection, every number has to have margin error. How big the error is. So you cannot, it's not just a single number, so I'll be talking about. You have a range. What's the, it's an estimation, right? So there is a minimum number and a maximum number. And that number, that margin error, should change. The further out you project the error, the bigger the error is. So the budget, whoever do the budget, do the presentation, they should give that number to the board. The board, the numbers will show what's the error, what's the maximum possible prediction for 5 years, what's the lowest. Without that number, you can't, it's not a single number, you can't get a good grasp of what's going to happen. And you will know the uncertainty of that estimation is going to grow larger and larger. Meaning, if you are making a decision today based on what will happen in 5 years, that big swing of protection, which they are not showing, can make you make a wrong decision, because the uncertainty of the projection is a science. There's no way to project a single number. So you can't single all these budget numbers by looking at what is the number for 5 years forward. So all these 1, 2, 3, 5, every number is not a number, is a range, and that range goes like this. So I would urge the board, look at this carefully, because the decision you make today is long-term. The reason is the projected picture is long-term. If you look at the slide, in 5 years, we're down to 0%. We're almost insolvent. But that prediction has a huge error. And how big that error is, we don't know, because it's a prediction. We have to look at how the prediction was made. So we need to question who is making that decision. You can do budget, but the ADA projection is not easy to do. The error can be very big.
Okay, thank you. We have one more speaker. Let's start with our production name. You come up and pronounce your name.
Before I speak, I have something summary. So my question is about the last year's spending.
Thank you. Tell us your name, please.
My name is Yi Xuan. I have 2 kids in the elementary in CUSD. So I provide 2 pages to the board member. The top table is the May 2018 projection, and the bottom table is what's shown just now in the slides. Is the I believe it's the last month or this month's budget meeting summary. So I circled the 2 columns I compared. One is the projection last year, and one is the real number we got today. So then the second page is a table. I compared these 2 numbers, and what I saw is that compared with last year's projection of real revenue increased by about 2.8 million. But we overspending, compared with last year's projection, we overspent in the 5.6 million. So as a result, our deficit increased by 2.8 million. So in the overspending part, I break down into 3 categories. Like salary and benefit is 1.56 million, books and supplies 2.68 million, and capital outlay 1.32 million. So my question is that if we have so big overspending, how could we sustain? If we don't have this overspending as of this year, we shouldn't have deficit. We should have about 0.7 positive balance. So my question is that if we compare the LCFF decrease, it's only about 3% of the overspending amount. So I feel overspending is a much more severe problem compared with the decline in enrollment. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's my point.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're ready to, oh, you have another comment? Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay. So can I get some clarification on when the last negotiations around the settlement was an increase? This was before we were on the board, so I just want to make sure that I understand.
When we did the budget, the 7%. Was last year, but it was retroactive. If the state
This is on, it was 5% for 17, 18, and 2% for 18, 19, so that's reflected in.
So the difference between what we were projecting, there was a change in the out years based on a negotiation that hadn't been done at the time, but subsequently was done.
Correct.
That's correct.
And then my other question, Jeff, I know we talked in budget advisory, so it's kind of a chance to talk about one year that we built into why we have to more conservative enrollment numbers and what the marketer or the how tight we made the band that we were looking to be in on the conservative projections of
The difference in everything.
yes, so using comps, we were experiencing something more like 1%. We were looking to tighten even further.
It was actually higher than 1%. So between where it was actually closer to 3 to 4%, which is what we had to move away from the approach taken by our previous model for move towards the decision insight.
And that moderate decision insight was also more like 1%. And then we tightened for conservative.
That's right. And again, our numbers aren't showing 1% difference because we use the middle ground between previous model for projection decision insight, which produce that greater difference. If we would have went stuck with conservative going this year, we would have been under 1% difference in the funded numbers.
Yeah, and often, so they give us a range, and we do what they call moderate conservative, so we do it that range. In normal times, you sort of figure, you just find what's in between in your clear. If there's a range here, we're not sure what we believe is going to be, and we're generally between those two, frankly. And it's also, you will use the moderate if you're talking about facilities. If you're afraid you don't have enough facilities because it's increasing, and you're going to go on that range. And what we are saying is, it's clear that when you're in multiple years of decline, many years of decline, we add this something other than budget. We have to go at the low end of the range, and that's where we are right now.
Thanks for bringing that here.
Anything else? So this is a discussion item. Is there any discussion or are we done? Looks like we're done. Okay, we're moving on into the board and superintendent.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to make sure, so at this point, if there's anything you're going to need to pass acceptance essentially of the report of the first year, and that's really what it is. Because we're not changing the budget at this point, and so we don't need that discussion. But it has to be all we need to know because we actually have to pass it next time. That's why I say we'll put it on action.
I had asked for some information. I'm not going to do accepting the first term, but I would like to get that
Information you requested, right?
Yes. Yeah, we will get that.
All right, moving on to the board and superintendent activity. Anybody have anything to report? We all went to the CSDA conference